Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, FanFest was this weekend. A big announcement with number 34 being retired. We'll get into that. We'll get into Miguel Rojas extension and see what the Dodgers had to say at FanFest. That's what's on tap, so make sure to keep it Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. This is a daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And you'll never miss a day if you subscribe, because you know we're not going to. If this is your first time listening or watching, I'm Vince Samperio. I'm usually joined by co-host Jeff Snider, but Jeff was playing dad this weekend, got back late, so I'm taking over, covering for the day. And if my voice sounds a little weird, it's because I lost my voice last week and over the weekend, and I'm still recovering. So that's why it sounds like I'm going through puberty right now. But yeah, we're pushing through. We're Luckily, I was at Dodgers FanFest this weekend, so we'll have some actual videos of the players speaking, which will cut into my speaking time a little bit. But like I said at the start, at the jump, number 34 being retired, biggest story of the weekend, and biggest news yet. Like I mentioned, I was at FanFest, so here's a little video of the announcement, and then I'll come back and have some thoughts on it.
Really proud to announce today that this summer in 2023, we are officially and finally retiring from the industry. Fernando, number 34 is yours, will always be yours. No Dodger player will ever wear it again.
Thank you, Steve. Really got me like surprised about it. Thank you very much. Thank you all the Dodgers, all the fans for your support. It's great feeling right now. So, muchas gracias a todos. Thank you.
And now in Spanish.
Yes, that was a fun announcement. Stan Kasten also made some announcements about Dodger Stadium. One of them being that they're overhauling the light system. So I know you've probably seen some of those stadiums where the lights can flash and, go dark and light when there's home runs or big moments or things of that nature. Dodger Stadium will not be able to do that this year. He said it might not be ready for the Freeway Series, but definitely ready for the start of the regular season. But yeah, Fernando, number 34, retired. It's been unofficially retired for a while now for the Dodgers. It hasn't been worn since Fernando last wore it. And, Stan Kasten mentioned that the question he said the two questions he gets asked the most is, when are you going to retire number 34? And basically another iteration of when you're going to retire number 34. And now it's happening. Apparently that they had plans of doing this maybe a couple years ago, but then the pandemic kind of pushed things back. Then, they had the Sandy Koufax statue and other things. And, it kind of got pushed a little bit, but it's finally going to happen this year. Weekend, August 11th through 13th is going to be basically a Fernando weekend where he gets the number retired. Fernando had this to say in a statement when the Dodgers did announce it. It said, "To be a part of the group that includes so many legends is a great honor, but also for the fans, the support they've given me as a player and working for the Dodgers. This is also for them. I'm happy for all the fans and all the people who have followed my career. They're going to be very excited to know that my number 34 is being retired." And we've talked about this scenario a lot before, and it's just a matter of, the Dodgers had their tradition of only retiring numbers, other than Jim Gilliam, only retiring numbers of players that were inducted into the Hall of Fame. And, Stan Kasten did mention that this was something they talked about in terms of making, retiring number 34 and how that opens up the door. And he basically just said it's open for changes. Traditions can be changed, traditions can be adjusted when need be. And this one makes the most sense for the Dodgers now that, there's going to be talks. I'm sure Justin Turner at one point, people are going to say, oh, they should retire his number. And it's just going to be a matter of how the Dodgers approach this thing as time goes on. But Fernando Valenzuela transcended just being good when he was with the Dodgers, just being on the 81 championship team and technically on the 88 championship team. He transcended all that because he brought in an entire generation of fans that who knows if the Dodgers would have picked up, when they would have picked up, or how things would have been now. And that's, the Mexican American fans. We know the story of Dodger Stadium and everything that happened there and how it sort of maybe alienated some fans at that point. Maybe Dodger fans weren't as popular in that community, but Fernando brought that hope. He brought the people, and he had an incredible rookie year that first year. And Fernando Mania took over, and it's one of those where you can't. And this can go a few different ways in terms of retiring numbers because you can't tell the story of the Dodgers franchise without Fernando Valenzuela. And I'm sure there'll be other players that you can say that for, like, oh, you can't tell the story of Dodgers franchise, like Justin Turner, that same example. You can't tell the Dodgers story without Justin Turner. And while technically true, that's more of the Dodgers in those years, but you can't tell the story of the Dodgers' entire organization and franchise without Fernando Valenzuela. It's like Jackie Robinson, Tommy Lasorda, figures that contributed in more than just, on the field or even off the field communities type things. Guys that if you're writing a book about the Dodger organization, they are having their own chapters basically. And that's where Fernando Valenzuela is. And while he didn't have the career that would maybe warrant, Hall of Fame, obviously, and he one day maybe could get in just based on historical impact or something of that nature, which I don't necessarily see happening, but I guess it's possible. But it's perfect for the Dodgers, and Stan Kasten mentioned that they're still going to have the Dodgers Ring of Honor, and they're still going to be adding names there and all that. But this was long overdue. The fact that nobody had worn it since is just added to that lore. And the unofficial retired is now going to be officially retired. And it's great. It's great to see. It's great for like I said, these fans. There's a whole generation of fans that are getting older that actually saw Fernando pitch and maybe were here for that 81 season that pass it on to their, kids, and their kids pass it on to their kids, and maybe even their kids pass it on to their kids, depending, how fast they had kids. But all that gets rewarded. And for someone as a young, Mexican American or someone in Los Angeles, Chicano, however you want to call it, as someone's going to Dodger Stadium and looking up and seeing number 34 and seeing Valenzuela, or knowing that it's Valenzuela or being taught that it's Valenzuela, you have that representation that, that guy has his number retired by the Dodgers. Maybe I could have my number retired by the Dodgers. And I know it sounds corny, it might sound a little cheesy, but that's, realistically what he brought to that large generation of fans. And those fans stuck around. Those types of Dodger fans are the most loyal fans. They might not always be the best fans, but they are loyal fans. And, there's a reason Dodger Stadium leads the league in attendance every year, and it's partially because of Fernando Valenzuela and all he brought when he was here that rookie season. So I can't, obviously me as Mexican American, happy about it and excited, and definitely will be there when it all goes down. And it's just going to be, fun to see number 34 up there in the rafters. Fernando's still alive for round 4, which is great. Jaime Hedin mentioned that he wishes that, that he doesn't know why the Dodgers waited. Vince Scully would have loved to see it and all that. And yeah, that's true. And, that part does suck, but it's happening. This is probably, I don't even think you can be upset with this. Like, nobody. This might be, I think Jeff said, like the most universally liked decision that this Dodgers ownership will ever do, maybe, possibly. So shout out to Fernando Valenzuela. Shout out to number 34. Will no longer be worn. hasn't been worn, but will definitely no longer be worn the rest of the way. All right. There was a few other things from Dodger Fan Fest. One of those that broke right after media left for Fan Fest, which is Miguel Rojas signing an extension. We'll get into that. We'll actually hear from Miguel Rojas about working with Miguel Vargas and talk about what it means. So that's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. And right now, Super Bowl week, they got something for you because our sports betting partner, number one sportsbook in America, FanDuel, they got a bunch of great features. And right now, you can get a no sweat first bet for Super Bowl 57. You can get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. I'm definitely putting some money. Oh, or if I could, I'd put some money down on Travis Kelce to score a touchdown. I still have Jalen Hurts scoring the first touchdown of the game. So those are a couple bets that I like. FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, super easy to use, and you get paid out instantly. You don't got to wait. You don't got to worry about it, anything like that. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, back at it. And like I mentioned, Miguel Rojas signed an extension. I think before FanFest was officially done, but definitely after media was done at FanFest, he signed a 2-year deal with the club option for 2025. 2 years, 11 mil over 23 and 24. Club option for 2025 that could get him up to 15 mil, and it's a $1 million buyout. So that's where you get the 2 and 11. And for the Dodgers, it's a good deal. Miguel Rojas, it was made clear that he's expected to probably be a role player, this year, moving around the infield more and more. We've heard Miguel Vargas at second, Gavin Lux at short, Max Muncy at third, and then Miguel Rojas filling in around them, which is great. And to get, locked down a strong defender who could probably, have a good at bat at the very least, maybe not be a very, very good hitter, but put up a good at bat, have a professional at bat, a veteran. It's great. And it also, lends itself to why it's great because he talked about working with Miguel Vargas. We saw that Miguel Vargas and Miguel Rojas were working out together. And that came because Miguel Vargas reached out to Miguel Rojas. We're going to hear from Rojas right now about that interaction and what he thinks about Vargas defensively. So here it is.
No, yeah, for me, I take pride of the guys that are coming up in an organization, and I always gonna take a role where my leadership is not gonna be like speaking or saying something out loud. I just wanna show them by example, and be here for whatever they need me. So Miguel Vargas was the one reaching out to me that he wanna work on defense. So for me, that tells a lot about like what he want to be, and he want to be a good defender, not just a good player and happy to get an opportunity. He wants to be a good defender, and he's working hard to be good at second base.
How did he look out there?
I'm sorry.
How did he look at second
He
base?
looks really good. We didn't work at second. We work at shortstop because I feel like if you can play short, you can play other positions. So that's my mentality, and I want to help him. And he will have times with our coaches to work at second base. But whenever he have a time to work with me, we're probably gonna be a short.
Yeah, so great to hear from Rojas on that. Like I said, Miguel Vargas reached out. They worked together, worked mostly at shortstop because Miguel says if you can be a shortstop, you can be a second baseman. He went on to say that Vargas is still learning himself and what kind of defender he's going to be, that it wasn't like glowing praise, like, oh my God, this guy's the best defender ever, but it was, straight shooter. He's learning what type of defender he's going to be. He's learning how hard he has to work, and he wants to be a better overall player. He doesn't just want to hit. So for Dodger fans, that's a good thing to hear. For someone like Rojas, obviously he's not going to say Miguel Vargas isn't good at playing defense, but for him to have some positive words, for Vargas to be the one to reach out, it's all positive, and we can only wait and see what he looks like once we get to spring training playing second base. But it's exciting to know that, Vargas, or Rojas will be here to help with guys like Vargas. I'm sure he can help with guys like Michael Bush. I'm sure he can help with some of these other guys that come up. And it's that veteran presence that they maybe necessarily didn't have that like off the bench last few years. Last year they had Hanser Alberto, but that was more of a fun type of veteran rather than, a Chase Utley type or someone like that that contributes but also contributes by helping out these younger players. And that's where Rojas probably fills his role best of, okay, he's good defensively, might come into some games late. He'll definitely fill in and play 80 to 90 games between second, third, and short probably this year. Hopefully have some timely hits. Hopefully, he said that he's all is good after the surgery on his hand. He said they had found a piece of bone in between his thumb and his index finger. They took that out. He started swinging off a tee. He wants to play in the World Baseball Classic for Venezuela, but he's not sure. Obviously, he's only going to play if he feels good and he's ready to go. And yeah, so it's a good move for the Dodgers. It's cheap enough. They can get out of it after next season if they need to. And honestly, I was not around in media. I don't believe, yeah, when Rojas was here 2014, I wasn't really in the media yet fully. So I had never really talked to him. I don't know how his speaking skills and English and everything else was back then, but he was really great with the media, shook everybody's hand. He just brought some for me. It was like exciting because, like I said, he had a lot to say. He spoke very well. He talked about a lot of different things. He talked about how he's different as a player now, which one of those things is being a leader and being able to help guys out. He said he might not always be a vocal leader, but somebody that leads by example and can help out when asked. And that's what he did with Miguel Vargas right off the bat. So we saw right off the bat. And yeah, he mentioned he had a great time in Miami and getting Miami back to the playoffs in 2020 and having a winning season and that type of stuff. But he mentioned how excited he was to be back at Dodger Stadium, be back with the Dodgers. And, I'm sure he's excited to be on a team that's more destined for success than maybe the Marlins were this season and now the next season and maybe the season beyond that. So excited for Miguel Rojas in the sense of he's a guy that Dodgers could use on the bench, especially losing guys like Justin Turner, losing guys in the past with different variations of veteran presence and leadership and things of that nature. This is good, and he's a solid bench option. He could start for a handful of teams and be a somewhat very productive defensive player with probably average offensively, which is pretty good these days. But for the Dodgers, he'll be, a bench player, a role player, and he'll move around. Hopefully, no injuries where he has to kind of step in and be an everyday player. But if that happens, the Dodgers are well equipped to have an everyday player. And I know we'll go back to the trade of Maya for Rojas, and you're trading all the years of Amaya for Rojas. But now they locked him in for 2 years, maybe 3 years. If Amaya comes up this year, he's 6 years. So it's half of those seasons are already covered. You know what you're getting out of him. Amaya could surprise and could be a very good, Major League Baseball player, and that's very possible. But you're getting a little bit more of a known commodity here with Miguel Rojas, and that's, more settling for the Dodgers and kind of what the Dodgers need. One of the reasons they're going to need that is because they did have a lot of guys leave, and a lot of the players had things to say about that. So when we come back, we're gonna listen to Freddie Freeman, we're gonna listen to Chris Taylor, we're gonna listen about Max Muncy about what this offseason was like, but how much they believe in the team still. So that's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Check out Locked On MLB Prospects with host Lindsey Crosby. He's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, let's finish up by talking about the Dodgers. And, this is the first time where we've seen the Dodgers talk a lot about different things. And we've seen them over the last week in that community tour. Freddie Freeman had some stuff to say. We heard from Dave Roberts during the winter meetings. We heard from Clayton Kershaw. We heard from Max Muncy on the Blue Heaven podcast. But this was them all together talking. So right now we're going to hear from Freddie Freeman. Similar sentiments to what he made the other day about why he believes in this Dodgers team.
You got Clayton Kershaw, Julio, Dustin May, Noah Syndergaard, and Tony Gunn. I really like our team, and our bullpen is incredible. So I'm looking forward to it. You can always go, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. But I like our team. I think we got a really, really good team.
Yeah, Freddie was great. Very, very great with the media. Was very candid. We might upload some more of the videos of other things he said about. They asked him about the sting of the last year's playoff loss and how he handled that this offseason. And he said, "You know what? Every year my goal is to win a World Series, and every year that doesn't happen, it's going to sting." And he said, every team should sting after 29 teams should be going into the offseason with the sting and getting ready to get back at it this season. And he went on to add that obviously winning 111 games and not making it out of the first round probably stings a little bit more than some of these other teams. But basically, that his goal every year is to win a World Series or it's a failure. And, he's had a lot of failures up to this point, other than 1 year. But that it doesn't stop the hunger. It doesn't stop him from wanting to compete. And, obviously, he believes in this team and he believes in some of these guys. And I didn't get this one on video, unfortunately, but he was really excited about Gavin Lux. He said that's basically who he's most excited for this season to see. What that mentioned that he was basically a 300 hitter before he got hurt last year. Now he's going to be an everyday shortstop, and he had very nice things to say about Gavin Lux. If you look around, I believe Dodgers Nation or Dodger Blue, they have the full interview with Freeman talking about Lux. I didn't get there, or I was in recording at the time. So, but yeah, now let's hear from Max Muncy, kind of talking about the same thing about this offseason and how they handled it.
How have you kind of watched the comings and goings with your teammates?
It's been interesting. It's we still have our group chat with the full team from last year, and it's kind of whenever someone would get a deal, the whole team would go nuts like, yeah, man, there we go, and congratulations, guys. And it's sad to see everyone leave, but you're so happy for these guys, and you spend every single day with them starting here in about 3 weeks until the end of October. You develop such a relationship that when they go out and they get their deals like that, you can't be anything but happy for them. And so it hurts to see them leave, but I know that we also have more than enough pieces to fill their shoes. I think it'll be a fun, exciting year.
Yeah, so the most interesting thing for in that is the Dodgers from last year still have the group chat running. Mostly, it seemed like a lot of it was just saying, "Hey, congrats to these guys that went out and got different deals and moved to different teams." And obviously for the Dodgers, that was a lot. It's Trey Turner, it's Justin Turner, it's Cody Bellinger, it's Tyler Anderson, it's Andrew Heaney, it's Greg Kimbrough, it's Chris Martin. There's a lot of names that they probably had to say, "Hey, congrats" or "good job" or "good luck," blah blah blah, this other stuff. And that team camaraderie was still there from last year. But and Muncy said we still have the team to do it this year. We still have a good team. They also asked Muncy about if the regular season doesn't mean as much after last year winning 111 games, not making it out of the playoffs, and seeing teams like that Phillies and the Padres win 88, 87 games and making it advancing further into the postseason. And Muncy said, and Freddie said this too, but Muncy said the regular season is still the most important thing. And, you still want to win a bunch of games. You still want to make it into the make it into the playoffs. You still want to win the division. Freddie said that winning the division is still top priority. Muncy said, similar things. And that makes sense because these guys, regardless of them having those days off and not playing in the wild card series, and maybe potentially that led them to struggle a little bit, which I don't say they won the first game and they scored 5 runs right off the bat, but they still don't want to play that series. They still want to play the least amount of games as possible. They still want to get that rest. They still want to put themselves in the best position to win, and in the best position to win is winning the Division 1 and winning the most games in the National League too, and obviously the third thing is winning the most games in the entire league, so you don't have to you have home field advantage throughout. And yeah, you can say, oh, well, they didn't even have home field advantage didn't matter because they didn't keep winning, but if they would have kept winning, home field advantage would have been great to have. So regular season still matters. It's still good, and you're not going to change the Dodgers' minds. You're not going to change our minds here, the regular season still matters. Now, obviously, do I want them to win, 111 games again and have the division wrapped up and not really play too many competitive games over the last month? Not necessarily, but if it happens, I'm not going to be upset about it. That's just a matter of how it goes. They just have to play better when it mattered. They had a tough, 3-game stretch where they couldn't hit the ball or they couldn't hit where runners were in position, and that's what cost them. But I don't think that comes from anything more than they just had a bad 3-game stretch, and the Padres had a better 3-game stretch, and that's how it goes. Now, let's hear from Chris Taylor. He's going to talk about basically the same thing. How was this offseason? And basically had the same thing to say.
Yeah, it's kind of bittersweet. I'm happy for a lot of those guys. I know they made the best decision for them and their families. Obviously, would have loved to see them back in Dodger blue. I'm gonna miss those guys. I've been playing with them for a while, but I feel good about the guys that we have here at the same time. I know we have some young players that have been knocking on the door, and I think they deserve their shot to make their mark.
How much does that sort of change things for you guys, especially like you mentioned, some of you guys have been in playoff runs year after year after year together, just to have some new voices, new faces in there?
It's going to be different. I think it's going to be a little strange not having JT in the clubhouse and Cody, and we're gonna miss them, but that's the game. I think we feel good about the group we have, and like I said, we got a lot of young guys that are hungry and have been working hard, and they feel it's their time.
Yeah, so like I said, you heard from Muncy, you heard from Freeman, you heard from Taylor, 3 of the biggest names on the Dodgers, 3 of the biggest guys that are coming back. And they all had the same things to say. They were cool with everything that happened and, not cool with it, but they understand that's how it goes. That's how the business is. And they move forward, and they still have the team to beat, and they still have a team that's worthy of playing and competing and being good. And that's what it comes down to. Like we said, the Dodgers are still going to be one of the best teams in the National League. Just a matter of how good they are. They're going to obviously have better competition with the Padres, you would imagine, this year. Although the Padres pitching is still a little suspect, but their offense is supposed to be really, really, really good. So that's, we can harp on it and say it, and you guys might say, "Oh, we're optimists and everything else," but the players feel the same way, and or even if they don't feel the same way, they're not going to say that they don't, and they're going to be, I don't feel that what they're saying is fake or disingenuous. I believe it's genuine that they believe this is a good team. They believe they can still win, and they believe that if these young guys step up, they're going to be in a great spot. So there's no reason for us to believe anything different. And yeah, so that's going to do it for today's episode. We'll maybe still have some stuff from FanFest, talk about some other in observations, some other things that Dave Roberts said. Like I said, I'm going to maybe upload some of these videos from FanFest onto our YouTube page, maybe as YouTube shorts. Check them out. And yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Make sure to check out Locked On MLB Prospects with host Lindsey Crosby, because he's a prospect encyclopedia. So go check it out wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, which is how you can find us if you search for Locked On Dodgers, wherever you get podcasts, and on YouTube, which is also how you can find us on Instagram or Twitter at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Samperio. DMs are open on all those accounts if you need to get a hold of us. You can also get a hold of us via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us. When you get in your car or if you're at home, tell your smart device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.